Alright, welcome to the video about Lucio's theoretical skill trees, made by me. Yeah, we're doing mailbags. Seorf, what's good, homie? Here's a video you asked for. I left a reply. You know what's coming. And here's why can't I just have a username, 4 numbers? I appreciate the feedback, and yeah, I've gone over my illness. Thanks for asking. If you want to be pen pals, that'd be tight, bro. Keep commenting. Let's go. For those two and anyone else, if you haven't watched the first video, watch the first video, because it's going to explain how the skill trees work and all my reasoning behind why they're structured that way. It's going to be up in the card and on my channel in the main playlist. Here's how I split up Lucio's abilities to make 3 trees. Before I start going into loads of detail, there are a couple of changes I want to make to Lucio that weaken him before he regains that thing later on or makes it stronger. Firstly, say hello to 2016 Lucio, where Wallride does not give you a speed boost anymore. Next, I'm going to have the boop ability, Soundwave, will have a cooldown, as you are used to, but it also goes back to using up 4 ammo. Right, here's the Crossfade tree. I didn't do my handwriting this time underneath all the pictures, might help you read it, but I don't know if I can be asked to keep it up. Anyway, starting off, Crossfade. Lucio has an aura that either heals allies or increases movement speed. I put the controls here as left shift and scroll wheel, and you'll see why in a minute. The first upgrade you get when committing to this tree is a larger aura radius. You can probably see that. The next one's a bit spicier, give Lucio a 3rd song. I mean, surely he's got to have different tracks going on. This one, it's got an hourglass icon to represent cooldown speed reduction. The reason why I put the scroll can be used as a control is you can scroll up or down to switch songs quickly, like shift forwards or backwards to shift up and down the song tracks. Whereas you can still use shift, but it would just go in a cycle, like heal, speed, cooldowns, heal, speed, cooldown, always. And your penalty for using that shift will be having to wait for Lucio to do that hand animation for switching songs. Right before the path split, that's when you'll have your amp up ability on your E. You can imagine how it works for heal and speed song, but for the cooldown song, I'm going to have abilities refreshing faster. Let's look at the top path. Firstly, we're going to have Lucio's songs becoming earworms, so the effect's going to persist after a teammate leaves the radius, but it's going to decay down to 0 after a short period of time. The song's effect is the same as the one Lucio has active, but if Lucio changes song and the teammate is inside the aura, then the teammate won't have that earworm. It's just going to switch immediately to whichever Lucio has active. Next, the base effects of the auras are lower, but the longer a teammate spends inside it, the more of effect the music will have on them until it's stronger than the base. Lastly, the aura effect will fade when the teammates are still inside the radius, so Lucio can have a different song affect him than the one his teammates have. So a quick look at the bottom tree. You might see it's a little bit of mirroring of the top. It's going to focus more on amp and team play. The first 2 of this split reduce amp's cooldown when Lucio participates in the eliminations. Whether it be better as a flat amount or a percentage, I'm not sure, but I'm not on the balance team. And the final upgrade will overlay the current song's amped effects with the last place song effect. So you can have heal and speed, or heal and cooldown reductions, or speed and cooldown reduction. Let's have a look at the ultimate upgrade. It's got 2 parts to it. Firstly, Lucio's aura will be stronger the closer his teammates are to him, and then a new ultimate ability that will override another ultimate if it's available, giving all of Lucio's teammates their own auras. They'll be smaller and less potent than Lucio's, and Lucio will be the one who controls all of them at the same time, and they are going to stack. The next tree is all about the cyber skates that Lucio wears and his wall riding. So here's the pre-split upgrades. First, it wouldn't be Lucio without wall riding, so it's got to be first thing. Next, the ability to instantly change the direction you're traveling on a wall by tapping back on your keyboard or flicking back on your control stick if you're using a controller. Allow backwards Wallride was always such a weird setting to me. Anyways, next upgrade after that returns the speed boost that Lucio has when he detaches from a wall. And the final upgrade before the split lets you become a turret on a wall basically. You just hold your crouch key and you stay in place. You'll still be able to move your camera, shoot and use other abilities, but you won't move while you're holding crouch. Here's the top path. Anyone who's played Lucio since his first rework will tell you how important bunny hopping is. So I thought, why not make it, an intended behavior? Some people might abuse the speed boost I'm proposing by doing the thing where they bind scroll to jump, but I know that's no big deal. The second upgrade gives Lucio a charge jump like Baptiste. I thought about locking it behind another requirement of recruiting Baptiste to your team in the campaign, because it's his kit, but I think it fits the hopping theme of this path. The final upgrade is a Goomba Stomp. After doing a charge jump, if you land on an enemy's head, you'll deal damage depending on the charge of the jump and the distance between the launching and the landing. On the bottom path, I nicknamed this one Flores Lava in my notes, and you'll see why. Firstly, the longer Lucio can spin without touching the ground, the more damage he'll deal. I'm imagining the boost not being too much, maybe 20-25%, but hopefully affecting some breakpoints, and it would reset when Lucio touches the ground again. The next one's kind of hard to imagine, especially when there's all these smaller like grunt type enemies or the little chickens, but you become able to attach to enemies to wall ride on them. On top of providing more surfaces to wall ride on, if you can complete a revolution while stuck to an enemy, you restrict their movement and deal damage over time. Think like Pokemon Ranger for the DS. The final upgrade will let Lucio make an explosion when he detaches from surfaces. It's meant to be more of a movement ability than killing, so the actual amount of damage it deals will be small, but it'll have decent knockback for enemies and Lucio if you jump off an enemy. And here's the ultimate upgrade. It's going to be a passive one instead of an actual ult, but I think it would be pretty powerful. You get an extra hop or like dash in the air. I'm envisioning this as more of a horizontal than vertical thing. Maybe also almost entirely horizontal, made to force Lucio to jump between walls if he wants to climb. The extra dash will have a meter to fill instead of a cooldown, so it's going to force you to stay on walls and ride across them for a few seconds in between each time you use this. And let's look at the last tree for the video. The first slot's taken up by Lucio's weapon. The gun uses ammo as usual, and boots will use both ammo and have a cooldown like it used to. The first upgrade changes how boot works. Firstly, it'll only do the blast when you release the button you have it bound to. When you click the button, the boot will be weak and not push enemies very far, but when you hold the button, it will push enemies further when you release it. The next upgrade will give you Sound Barrier, finally, and the last upgrade before the split is inspired a bit by Lucio Ball, before Super Lucio, where you used to be able to affect the ball with your ult, and now the sound waves that travel across the ground will push enemies. Is the top path, focusing more on Lucio's gun and how you can CC with that. The first two upgrades affect primary fire, firstly by giving projectiles a bit of knockback, and secondly weak sort of homing if the shots are already near an enemy. The final upgrade is where the juice is, but you can knock enemies into walls and then deal extra damage or stun them, a bit like Doomfist's charged punch. Nearly there. Here's the bottom path, focusing entirely on sound barrier. Underneath these upgrades, I'm also seeing there would be a hidden multiplier or reduction to the ultimate points you need to charge sound barrier. The first upgrade will generate more waves that travel more slowly, coming out from wherever Lucio drops the beat, so not following Lucio himself. This gives more opportunities for teammates to receive the overhealth or shields if we're taking those back. Next is the ability to use the waves, similar to that one time in Lucio Ball, starting at max range and pulling in towards Lucio. And it can be hard to control, so I'm going to say you can select this by holding your backwards movement key or direction when you're pressing your ultimate button. Enemies will be pulled in with the waves slightly if you invert it. And the final upgrade makes the waves useful in ways other than overhealth and shields, giving both a speed and jump boost, while the overhealth is active, a bit like Super Lucio from Lucio Ball, but for the rest of your team as well. And here's the ultimate upgrade. It improves the over health granted by sound barrier by letting your allies keep some sound armor after the fact, like Rally used to give you armor. The sound armor stays on allies until they take lethal damage, making them invulnerable for a brief amount of time before disappearing. Think of it a bit like Ice Block from World of Warcraft or Hearthstone. That's it. Next time, a bit more effort on the art front, and I'm going to be using a bit more of the gradient tool in Photoshop. I'm going to be doing a DPS character, so that means after I do Genji, I'm going to be doing a tank. I have maybe 2 different tanks I think I've coming up with stuff for, but you'll just have to find out who it is. Again, I'll be checking comments, and I'll see you next Tuesday. Good night.